would like to welcome you to our session titled Understanding Microaggressions, Strategies for the Classroom. My name is Fauzia Osman, and I am an educational development consultant with the Taylor Institute for Teaching and Learning. And in my role, I work to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion across our teaching and learning communities. And I'll pass it over to Lorelei and Antonia to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Fauzia. It's my great pleasure to co-facilitate this session with Fauzia. My name is Lorelei Anselmo. I'm a learning instructional design specialist at the Taylor Institute, and I specialize in blended and online learning. In my role, I consult with faculty and instructors to help them develop engaging and inclusive online and blended and online learning courses.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Antonia Anawai. I am here in the capacity of a technology coach, so I will be moderating and providing technological support.
Thank you, Antonia. For the land acknowledgement today, I took this picture as I was walking my dog one morning. I think it was in November, and it really, the different climate and the way that the geography was that particular day really made me think of the land acknowledgement at the University of Calgary and how we present the land acknowledgement. And I find myself looking at the land acknowledgement now in a different light. I think about the land acknowledgement definitely as a way to recognize and appreciate the land and the peoples that we share this land with. But I'm also thinking of the land acknowledgement as a way to ground myself in the uncertainty of our times. I think about the beauty of the land that surrounds us, the strength and courage of the people of the Treaty 7 region in Southern Alberta. And I hope that you too, when you're outside, that you can take a moment to really appreciate the serenity of the Treaty 7 lands and the peoples and ground yourself momentarily. For today, we have divided the workshop into 3 sections. The first section is really talking about the language of microaggressions. So what does that mean, and how does the language of microaggressions express in different situations? Then we're going to talk about that complexity of microaggressions through case studies. We have 4 different case studies that we're going to explore. And in that exploration, you'll have an opportunity to discuss and share practices and experiences that you've had. And how do you navigate those situations as you go through your courses? We're going to start off the session with an activity, and it's really going to kind of center the workshop on what microaggressions means to you. So we have a Menti that we've organized and encourage you to either use the QR code or to log on directly to menti.com. Once you're in menti.com, you can participate by entering that code or that number that's listed on the screen there. And we're just looking for, like, when you see the word microaggressions, what does that mean to you? It could mean many, many different things for different people. So we just wanted to get an idea of what microaggressions means to you as the participants who've attended this session. So for many of you that have never used Menti before, how the word cloud works is the more common the words, the larger they become. So you can see right now that we have a variety of words that have meaning to you when you think of the word microaggressions. We have harmful, bias, offensive, exclusion, marginalization. So you can see the bigger ones, harmful, bias, are really becoming larger and larger in font, because those are the words that are becoming more often. I see intended and unintended, labeling, passive, subtle anger. These are all concepts that we're going to be addressing during the workshop. Inconspicuous. It's wonderful. Thank you everyone so much for participating in this activity with us.
Great. Well, thank you. As Lorelei mentioned, thank you all for participating in that activity. It really would help us to center our conversation around microaggressions as we move further into this session. All of you really hit the nail on the head, really, with your responses there. Microaggressions, the term really is so broad and it can mean so many things. As highlighted from that exercise that was conducted just a minute ago. But so when we talk about microaggressions, so let's unpack this term. Let's spend some time unpacking this term. When we talk of microaggressions, it really is when we're referring to brief and daily verbal, behavioral, or environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicates hostile, derogatory, demeaning, or negative attitudes towards stigmatized or culturally marginalized persons or groups of people. Microaggressions are closely tied to implicit bias, as someone mentioned, which are the attitudes, stereotypes, and assumptions that we're not even aware of. However, they are a little different from overtly racist, sexist, or homophobic acts or comments because they typically don't have any negative intent or hostility behind them. Hence, most people who engage in microaggressions are ordinary, affable people. So you may encounter this in a workplace or within a classroom, but it's also very common to engage or rather encounter microaggressions within your own social circle and even within our families and in certain times. So overall, microaggressions often appear to be a compliment or a joke, but they contain a hidden insult about a group of people. Next slide, please. So delving deeper into microaggression, research has shown that microaggressions, although they are small and subtle, it can sometimes take a real psychological toll on the mental health of their recipients. So while this is small and subtle, but when it occurs constantly and is repetitive, it can have deterring effects. This toll can lead to anger and depression and can even lower work and productivity and problem solving abilities. So you can imagine how this may impact a student in a classroom, not just their mental health, but their learning as well. Hence, microaggressions contribute to making an environment such as school or workplace hostile and less validating by perpetuating stereotype threats. Next slide. So here are some common examples of what microaggressions may look like in a day-to-day setting. First of all, continuously mispronouncing a person's name. I can speak to this from my own personal experience when I was an international student many, many years ago. I probably had maybe one or two professors throughout my entire college career who took the time and effort to really learn how to pronounce my name. The ones that didn't, I honestly felt very disconnected, not only with the professors, but also from their courses, from my colleagues, from my classmates, and just the learning environment as a whole. And next, following racialized people in retail stores. This is implying that racialized folks need to be monitored and policed in everyday situations. Next, being mistaken for a service worker. Now, not that there is anything wrong with that in itself, but for it to be coupled with an element of surprise when a person from a marginalized background is seen in a position of power or a leadership role, that's when it gets problematic. And then using phrases like you people, those people, or you're not like the others. What this does is that it automatically otherizes and it creates that dichotomy of us versus them, causing further divide. If you can think of any other examples, please feel free to use the chat feature and yeah, feel free to mention those in the chat feature. Next slide.
Thank you, Fauzia. We're going to take an opportunity now to delve into the case studies where we really give you an opportunity to share your experiences and your strategies with microaggressions in the classroom. So we have 4 case studies that we'd like you to engage in today. The first one is online discussion forums. Second one is the phrase, "You are so articulate." The third one is, "When I see you, I don't see color." And the last one is a case study regarding writing assignments. So these case studies were all chosen from the University of British Columbia, who have done extensive research on microaggressions in the classroom. We're going to begin with the first case study, and we'll have you in breakout rooms between 6 and 7 people. 7 minutes for the breakout room. I know it's not a lot of time, but we do want to be able to have as many people to share as possible. So I suggest introducing yourself for the first breakout room. Maybe nominate a team leader right away so that you know who's going to be taking notes and representing, because when we do come back to the group, you'll have an opportunity to share one key takeaway from your discussion. And the questions, the guiding questions we'd like you to think about is what do you think led to this moment? What could have been done to prevent it? What would you do to respond? And what are the key issues or concerns to be aware of? So Antonia's going to create the breakout rooms right now. And I'm just going to show you, it'll be a Jamboard activity that we're asking you to engage in. So you've got the case study on the left-hand side, and the questions are in the reverse order. You can answer the questions in whichever way you'd like. Antonia, would you like me to share the link, or are you going to share them with the breakout rooms?
I can share them with the breakout rooms, and the breakout rooms have just been opened.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Antonia. And we'll let you go to your breakout rooms, and we'll see you in 7 minutes, please.
Hi, I just came back because we can't copy the link when you send it as a message broadcast. Could you share the link in the chat? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Could you please put the Jamboard link in the chat? Because we didn't manage to grab it in my breakout room.
Hi, Anna. Hopefully you got it this time.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You're welcome.
I'm sorry, this is Heather. I'm just floating in this room. I got kind of kicked out of Zoom for a minute, so I'm happy to just wait until everybody comes back. But I just wanted to let you know I wasn't able to join a breakout room.
Oh, I'm trying to see if we have.
I can assign you a breakout room if you'd like, Heather.
Okay.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Not at all. Not at all. I'll assign you a breakout room right now. All right. And what about Jasmine? Oh, great. Okay. Jasmine, are you interested in joining a breakout room?
Okay.
I'm sure
My-
Jasmine can hear us.
Yeah.
Okay, we just have Odul joining us as well, so we can check maybe if he'd like to join a breakout room. Okay, I got to go to room 3. I will see you guys in a minute if you want to handle Odul.
Sure.
Let's assign to 5.
Hi, Adul.
Hi, so sorry.
No worries.
I'm teaching
No
class
worries.
in the morning, and I try to just come over
No,
as soon as I
that's
can.
totally fine. Well, welcome. We are reviewing our first case study. So we have, I think, a minute or two, and the whole group is going to come back, but we can definitely put you in a group for the next case study. Would that be okay?
Sure,
Yeah?
sure. Sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah, thank
perfect.
you so much.
And just to let you know, Adul, that the session is being recorded. So this will be posted on the Taylor Institute website. You know, if you wanted to come back and view it again. And but yeah, just to let you know that the session is being recorded, and you know, I think the group discussion parts are going to be edited from the recording. So yeah,
Okay, thank you so much. I will try to kind of catch the first part.
no worries, absolutely.
Antonia, I had somebody in room 6 saying they can't access the link. There's too many people. So do we create another link?
Okay, so for the next one, we will just ask that one person in the breakout room share their screen, and that person can be the note taker. Not everybody needs to be on the Jamboard, but everybody needs to see it. So if one person shares their screen, they can be the note taker and the discussion can continue.
All right, that
Great.
sounds good. I've got 1 minute and 30 seconds left if we want to send an announcement. And that's no problem, Nancy. We're just ending our first case study, so it's perfect timing. So you'll come in just as we open it up back up to the group. I just said the announcement, the rooms will be closed in 1 minute, and I see that too,
Okay.
Antonia. Thank you. So when we get to the next case study, if you want to just mention that one person share.
Sure.
Okay, perfect, thanks. It's always a good sign when people are staying in the breakout rooms right till the very end. I think that's always a good good indication that people are engaging in great discussions. I think I'm going to actually share the Jamboards, and then as people debrief, they can refer back to their Jamboards. Okay, we are welcoming everyone back. Thank you so much for participating in that first Jamboard. We have 16 rooms. So the way that we're going to do it so that everyone has an opportunity to share at least one of the case studies is we're going to ask people from groups 1 to 5 or rooms 1 to 5 if they want to share their findings on the first case study. So if group number 1, if you'd like to go ahead and hopefully you've nominated someone, and if you want to unmute your mic and perhaps share one takeaway or one key key discussion area that you all participated in. So group 1, please.
So we didn't nominate anyone, but I'm okay to speak for our group since no one else seems to be busting at the seams to do so. So I apologize that we're case study 1. Is that who we are, group 1?
I think we're group 4.
Oh, my bad, sorry.
I'm not sure. I think we were.
We can discuss, so we were on page 4, is that what you're saying? We're all dealing with case study 1.
Yeah, we were, but go ahead, Fabiola.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I threw off the conversation and I really apologize. Sure, I can start. And we actually didn't get a lot of time to discuss our case study. We had some working with the Jamboard and trying to get ourselves introduced and all of that went really quick. But we did discuss that this could be an example of implicit bias where someone, doesn't even realize that they're making a racist or, offensive comment to someone else. So, and really speaking to those very, kind of powerful stereotypes, that shaped those implicit biases. And so that may have led to that comment. I also thought maybe sometimes, you have an open discussion and you're trying to create a very welcome, open environment for students. But sometimes they forget that they still need to monitor how it is the words that come out and to really think about what they're saying. And so having a discussion about what, that balance between feeling free to share your opinions, but also thinking about the words and the opinions that you are sharing could also be valuable. And I think that's as far as we got, but happy for anyone else to jump in.
I think that's as far as group 4 got. Thanks so much, Fabiola.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing those. Would a second group like to participate?
I think we were the second group. We talked a little bit about making sure that we had ground rules at the beginning of setting up this kind of online discussion forum about what was appropriate and what wasn't, and sort of, yeah, that idea that I think Fabiola raised about like reminding students that this is a forum that all their classmates are going to see, and to kind of think carefully about that.
Those are great points. And if I could add, thank you, Stephanie and Fabiola, for sharing discussions that came up in your group. And you're absolutely right. And somebody mentioned in the chat as well, Hamrit, I think you mentioned, to have those discussions with our students, either at the beginning of the term or, beginning of the class, just to let them know what are some it's sort of like group guidelines in a way, and to kind of set the tone of what is acceptable within these discussion forums, or even if it's online or in person. So thank you so much for sharing those points with us. So I think we'll go ahead and move on to case study 2. Are we ready to do that? Yeah.
Is it the same Jamboard? Sorry, before the breakout room.
So just before the breakout rooms will be opened, we've noticed 2 different things. So first of all, I'm actually not able to share the link to everybody while you're in the breakout room. So I will be sharing them here while we're all in the main room now. And the second thing is that not everybody is able to be on the Jamboards at the same time. So we're asking that you designate one person in your group to be the note taker, and that person can share their screens while you're all in the breakout rooms. That person can also take all the notes, etc. And essentially just ensures that everybody has a chance to see the Jamboard, but not everybody needs to be on the Jamboard. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to open all the rooms now.
Thank you, Antonia. So for this particular case study, the statement is "you're so articulate." So when you read that statement, what does that mean to you? Has anyone ever said that statement to you? Have you ever said that statement to someone else? And now that we're having a moment to reflect on what that means. What are the implications of that statement? Whether you're the one speaking the statement, or if you're on the receiving end of the statement. So we're going to give you the same amount of time, 7 to 8 minutes. And please let us know if you have any technical issues this time around. Thank you.
Hi, could you allow screen sharing in breakout rooms, please?
Carla, are you able to join breakout room number 2, or would you like me to do that for you?
Yes, please. Sorry, I had to step out. My daughter was calling me downstairs in the homework help.
Oh, of course, no problem at all. Okay, I'll just put you in the room right now.
Thank you so much.
And Jasmine, are you able to join the room, or would you like us to assign a room for you?
Lorelai, were you able to turn on the share screen feature for breakout rooms?
Oh no, I thought you did that.
Oh, I don't think I can because I'm a co-host and not a host. So if you go to the upwards facing arrow, share screen, do you see it anywhere on there?
I see multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Okay, maybe click on share screen itself.
Only host could share, who could share.
Yes, okay. It should be around there where it says only host can share. You should be able to enable.
I just have the only options are who can share, only host, or all participants.
Let's do all participants.
Really?
Yeah, because
and then
everybody should be able to share in order for them to share in the breakout rooms.
Okay, so that's under the second one, who can share, as opposed to who can start sharing when someone else is sharing.
Are they all check mark boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to enable those.
Okay.
Because at the moment, only the hosts and co-hosts can share their screens, but participants need to be able to share their screens in the breakout rooms.
Okay. What about how many participants can share at the same time? Multiple participants, that's what you want, right?
Yep, that's fine too.
Okay. 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 I see that, well, usually people just open up a different window, right? And then they just work on that. So I'm not sure why that wouldn't have been an option, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. So you don't want them to share in the breakout rooms. That's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know, because I saw in the chat someone said that there might be a limit to how many people can access at one time because yeah, I saw someone say that in the chat, like at least 2 people mentioned something about that there were too many people. Yeah, we had trouble accessing our Jamboard. Not sure if there's a limit in place.
I think the
So-
limit is 50.
I think we're just at that.
Okay.
It's not more. I thought it was 75, but anyways.
I thought it was 100 at one point in time, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot more, but anyways, okay. So
It's weird.
it's odd. I find like people are getting maybe Jamboard fatigue too, right? So, but yeah, they should know that they, take the link and copy it into a new window and then work off of that. And then they're just kind of talking.
Oh, okay. That also makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, it's all good. So we've got 8 rooms. So I can't remember which rooms shared last time, but I guess we'll just open it up to whomever wants to share.
Sure.
And did you want me to share the Jamboard or no? Just go back to the PowerPoint.
We can share the Jamboard. I mean, that way everyone can, because I didn't ask all 5 groups to share. So,
right.
So maybe like that way then.
Okay, I'm just looking at the Jamboard now too, to see if they're engaged with, because we have 8 rooms now. 9, 8 rooms.
9. Yeah, 9 at the moment.
Okay, so yeah, so now they're engaged. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the first 2 pages of the Jamboard that people are using, but that's okay. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to keep it on the first page then, because that's the one that seems to be most active. And I'm just checking our time. I technically only have 1 minute left. Did you want to give them a couple more minutes?
Maybe
it's
another
11:05.
11:05, and we get done 11:45, right?
Yeah, we've got we've got time.
They got maybe another 2 minutes. Like since
Okay.
I know they were kind of
frazzled. Okay, let me
Yeah.
just do my timer again.
And Antonia, are you having iced tea there? Because I can hear ice cubes.
Oh, no, this is an iced coffee.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know. I heard ice cubes. I'm like, oh, that sounds refreshing.
Because what time is it for you now? It's late.
It's
right?
it's 10:05 p.m. So, and Antonia, I'm in Dubai right now, so yeah, I'm not in Calgary.
Oh, amazing. Jealous.
It is late. Gonna welcome Natasha. Hi, Natasha. We're just wrapping up our second case study. So I can put you in a breakout room if you'd like, or if you just want to sit with us for a minute until the group gathers together as a whole. What would you like to do?
Sure, I'll wait till the group comes back together.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Excellent.
Sorry, I'm joining a little late here.
No worries. Just to let you know, Natasha, that the session is being recorded. So it will be available on the TI website in a few days, I think. But yeah, the session is being recorded, but they are going to edit out the discussion part, the group discussion parts. So
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah. So would they have like another minute now, or?
I just put the announcement in so that it's going to be closing in like 30 seconds.
Sounds good.
Okay. I see that we are welcoming everyone back. Thank you again for participating in that case study. I'll get Fauzia to lead the debrief.
Great, thank you, Lorelei, and thank you, folks, for participating in that case study. So you're so articulate. If I think, was it group 3 or 4? Or one of the groups, if anyone would like to share at this point, if we can ask, maybe let's go with group 3. If you would like to share what came up in your group discussions, please. And feel free to go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi there. I'm happy to share on behalf of Group 3. We had a pretty reflective discussion on situations that have evoked this comment to different members of our group and how that made different group members feel. And we really talked about question 3, like how might you respond in that situation, and coming from a place of curiosity and seeing this as perhaps a learning opportunity came up. So really inquiring with whoever's asking that question of us, what was it about what I said that made you ask that question or make that comment, and trying to explore that a little further.
Thank you for sharing, Brooke. And then sounds like, you know, as you mentioned, that to use that as a teachable moment, right? And then to kind of explore that further, and then just to unpack that further in conversation. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Group 4.
I was volunteered to share to represent Group 4. So we discussed many ideas, and one idea came out is how stereotype affects the communication. So when someone make the statement, "You're so articulate," it is assumption to the whole community. If the assumption or the stereotype is they cannot speak proper English, then they are making that stereotype for the whole group. And also, if they are saying, "Oh, you're speaking so well, you're so articulate," they're singling out that person to also express the stereotype or assumption for the whole community. And we discussed many other from the receiver end and from the impression that they were as a receiver to get is how normalized it was, by thinking it might be a compliment, or, "Oh, I need to do better so I can better represent my group or my community." So that's some idea coming out from our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Lynn. Absolutely. And then, you know, as you expressed there, that it can take that psychological toll, right? Like that mental pressure, as you said, even in like, when it comes to representation of a group. And folks, I just wanted to mention that Lorelei and I understand that, you know, some of these case studies, they can be triggering, and it kind of may stir certain emotions as we get into those discussions. So we really want to express our gratitude and say thank you for really engaging in these conversations with a lot of courage. And we understand that these are difficult conversations, so we want to thank you for participating in these conversations here today. Group 5. Anything that came up from within your group discussions around this case study?
I can speak for Group 5. There was a couple of us that were just joining the group because we were late to the meeting this morning, so we spent a few minutes just getting to know the people in our group. But I think we mostly spent our time on question 1, just thinking of all the different kind of spaces where this comment could come out, and the different kind of contexts where we've seen it take place. And then we were moving towards a discussion about the underlying issues and the bias, the stereotypes, which has already been shared, but just those pieces around the assumptions that are being made by actually stating that and recognizing that. So I think that's about as far as we got. And feel free, Group 5, if you want to jump in, anybody else.
Thank you, Christy. Those were very good points that you mentioned. Absolutely, like, you know, those assumptions, and especially in a classroom environment, right? Like we have to even consider that a statement like this, if it were to come from a TA or from a professor, that there are those power dynamics that need to be taken into consideration as well, which can do further harm within that learning environment. So absolutely, and thank you so much for sharing, Christy. All right, so I think with that, we can move on to our next case study 3. And just key, okay, we're on track with time. So this one is titled, When I See You, I Don't See Color. And again, I think we have the same 4 or 5 guiding questions for you to guide your discussions and conversations for this case study. So again, I think we will see you back here in 7 to 8 minutes. Is it Lorelei, or 7 to 8 minutes? Great.
That'd be great. Thank you, everyone.
Quick question, Lorelei, did you have the QR code for the survey on one of the slides, or should we email those out to the participants after the session? Oh, you muted.
Thanks. I don't have them on the slides. I think, did Andrew send them to us? I can add it really quickly while people are in the breakout room.
I think so. I think it was sent by TI Programs.
Okay.
Yeah, JG had sent those across.
Okay.
It's up to you. I mean, if you wanted to do it on the slides, or we could email them after, whichever is fine.
Okay. I'll see if I can find it in the meantime. And did they get the link for this one? I guess they're still discussing. I'm just in the Jamboard.
Yeah, I've just put the link in the chat.
Awesome, thanks. And then I'll go back and check to see if I can get that QR code. Oops, shoot, I forgot to put my timer on. Okay, that's okay. We're gonna do it now. Yeah. Good, those were good discussion. And thanks for the debrief, Fauzi. That was awesome.
No, I can understand like some of these can be triggering. So, but no, I always appreciate folks just really getting right into it and being willing to share with such a big group, right? So
yeah, exactly. Okay, so I found the QR code. Copy and paste. All right, so we'll put this one on the, which slide would you like me to add the QR code to?
Wherever you find it to be appropriate, it's totally up to you. So.
Okay, let me just do this. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so we have the slide where to get more information, maybe the questions and concerns slide, or the slide that has want to chat further. Maybe that one, hey?
Yeah, want to chat further. I think that would be good.
Okay. And then we can ask them to fill out the survey.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because it's nice while we kind of end the session, if people want to just do it, like get the QR code and then complete the survey right away.
Yeah.
Good. All righty. Okay, now we're starting to populate the Jamboard. Perfect. This is good. Timing is good, right? Because I think you ended up group 5 or group 6. I can't remember.
Group 5. And
Okay.
so, yeah, and then we can check with the other 3 groups, and I think we should be done with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then if we have a chance to do case study 4, we can just open up to whoever wants to participate. Yeah, because we've got 8. Yeah, we have 8 groups. Okay, perfect. I wonder if when we're in this, when it's in the breakout rooms, do the recordings stop? I can't remember.
Yeah, well, with the recording, so because you're the host, it follows you. So wherever, if you were to go in breakout room 2, for example, it would record breakout room 2 discussions. Like it'll follow you wherever you go. So yeah. So yeah.
So they edit all of that out.
They do. They edit all of
the
this
magic
out.
people. The magic people.
They do.
The
they edit all
skills.
of this.
Hi, Jennifer. Did you have a question?
I think she just joined.
Antonia, you'll probably receive a meeting invite from me then, if that's okay. I'm already telling you now.
What's that?
Ozzy is like super efficient.
I was like, Antonia, you're going to receive a meeting invite from me sometime soon, if that's okay.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect. And it's okay to go into your calendar and see, like, is it to just fix a time then? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Perfect. I'll do that then. Yeah, because I have 2 sessions coming up with CSM.
Amazing.
One is next.
Okay.
Yeah, one is next week on anti-racism, and then another one the following week. I'm working with actually Kenna with the Office of Faculty Development to I've put together a series, a 3-part series specifically for CSM. And so the second part is on February 1st. Yeah, our second session. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to discuss those with you, and then
sure.
you know, if you're willing, yeah. So I'll send you that meeting invite. I'll make a note now.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
What?
I don't know what that was.
Sorry, that was my
always
watch.
listening.
Okay, we've got 3 minutes left, so they have a bit of a longer discussion, but I think that one's, I think it's important for this one because this one is a very, very sensitive trigger statement.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots happening on the Jamboard. I'm not sure which page to go to, so I'll have to coordinate with the whatever, because I don't know that they follow the pages with their groups. Do you know what I mean? Because page 6 is populated, page 5, page 4 is really busy, and then page 2. So I'm not sure.
I have to step up for a few minutes. I have an issue with a student. So I'm just going to black my screen. I let my breakout group know about this, but great conversations. So that's why I want to continue. So I'm just going to block it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. So Fauzi, did you want me to share the Jamboard then? Because it's really busy, but I'm not sure which page I should be sharing because I don't know if they're going to the right page.
sorry about that. No, it's totally up to you. You're right. Like I took a look at the Jamboard myself. It's quite busy. Maybe if we can have it up, because I'm not sure how comfortable people will be to speak to this. So if they have it up there in writing, that might just be a little, it might ease, yeah, it might just make it easier for them, I think.
Okay, and then I just flip through the pages. Oh, I have to close the breakout rooms. I'll just flip through the pages as, I guess, randomly. Okay, okay, so they've got 1 more minute.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you again for participating in case studies 3. When I see you, I don't see color. I'll hand it over to Fauzia.
Oh, thank you, Lorelei. Thank you, folks. So when I see you, I don't see color. We recognize that this is a sensitive statement. So I think we left off at group 5. So starting with group 6, if you could just kind of tell us what came up in your group discussions and why this is a problematic statement, really.
So I was self-volunteered for that one because this is a scenario that happens to me often, but I never quite know how to respond. But in fact, learned a lot from my colleagues who mentioned the first part of it is that recognizing that in many times it's done as a compliment, but what it's really showing is, again, the bias. And depending on where you stand in the equator at that moment in time, it could be that you're in a white society where there's power and privilege that has not been recognized in that moment. What else did we say? It's a level of, in some way, ignorance of what that person who you're saying, who is color that you're saying it to, might matter. We also talked about scenarios where you're saying it to someone who's non-BIPOC or whatever. So it could be 2 white people having this conversation and what it implies for their understanding of society in general. And wanting it to be a teaching moment to be able to talk about acknowledging how society is structured, that color is mattering for that individual, and just recognizing there's a need to accept diversity, and that diversity in it itself brings power and I guess advancement was some of the comments. Hope I represented everyone's thoughts there. Anyone can jump in if I miss something. Oh, we thought about how would you answer? It says, when you might say to the person, you know, I realize that you didn't mean any harm by this, but have you thought about how it would make someone feel to say that to them? And that the hurt, even though it's somebody you might be close to, the hurt has to be acknowledged, and the understanding that you've just diminished somebody's personal experience.
So many points there, Nicole. Thank you so much for sharing on behalf of your group and all those points that you mentioned. You know, one of the things that I wanted to highlight, as you mentioned, was that it's not just a one-on-one interaction, or this is not just happening at an individual level, but as you mentioned, that it's, you know, the societal messaging that also perpetuates this thought process, right? So it's not just happening at an individual level, but it also not just at a micro level, but it is really requires us to look at things from a macro perspective as well, and considering those dynamics of power and oppression as well, and how it sort of manifests within our society, which leads to these kind of statements and messaging. So thank you so much for sharing, Nicole. Group 7, if you'd like to share what came up in your group discussions for this case study.
I'll start unless there's anybody else who wants to. If we sort of skip forward to what you could do to respond, we had an interesting conversation about the difference between responding in our personal lives and personal settings versus more formal settings, professional, school, or work, and talked about how in personal settings with family members, it's likely to be a slower process, that it's likely to be conversations over time that is sort of helping people learn things differently. Whereas in professional settings, there should be an expectation of psychological safety for people, that it should be expected to be quicker, that it's being addressed as opposed to a slower process, and talked about things like how it should be part of orientation as well, as opposed to microaggressions in safe spaces in orientation for whether it's university or at the beginning of classes.
That sounds great, Charlene. Thank you so much for sharing on behalf of Group 7. And absolutely, you're right. Within a workplace setting, it's easier, well, not easier, but it is more manageable when it comes to addressing microaggressions, right? I mean, there are certain policies in place, and then, like you said, ways of how we can incorporate this into orientations and training materials and so forth. It definitely is more tougher to deal with this in our social circles or within our family setting. And as I mentioned earlier in the session as well, that microaggressions usually come from folks who have good intentions, who mean well, who are affable people, and that those could be folks within our families as well. So thank you for sharing those points with us, Cheryline. Group 8.
Sorry, I was the one taking notes, but we filled out page 4 rather than 8.
That's fine.
Yeah, it was probably my fault. I got confused. So right from the start, when we were discussing this case, so it's like the person is trying to be fair, and it's obviously a conversation around race, but they're using the wrong metaphor. So we thought that it minimizes the issue of racialized people. It's like, I don't want to talk about this, and it's an excuse not to look into your own implicit biases so that you can continue doing what you were doing before. And so the main thing that can help prevent it, or like how you could respond, is to educate people that it's unnecessary to use, first of all, such metaphors, and then also to convince people to think about their own behavior, because good intentions are not enough. You should really think about the consequences of your actions and change your behavior. That's essentially it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Absolutely. And then it really requires us to exercise a form of cultural humility, right, in the learning process, and then just being open to those teachable moments as well. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Great. Lorelei, did we want to get into case study 4? Do we have time for that, or?
Yes, I do. I think we have time for case study 4. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Case study 4 is really specific to writing assignments. So it could be any type of assignment, actually. It doesn't have to be a writing assignment. It could be a reflection activity, perhaps, that you have your students participate in. But when those microaggressions appear in writing assignments, what do you do and how do you address them? So we'll have you in the group breakout rooms for one last time to discuss this topic. And we'll see you back in about 8 minutes. Right. Great job. Oh, Fauzi, I could listen to you all day.
It's one of those days I feel like I sound so fuzzy. I think it's maybe the time of the
No.
night.
No. It's great. I'm getting a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. I'm getting some private chats where people are like, this is amazing. Thank you for holding the space. And yeah, so no, I think it's great. You add so much expertise. And just the way you speak it's very insightful and it's very thought provoking.
Or you're too kind, Lorelei. You're too generous with your words, but thank you. No, and it's always a pleasure doing this with you. Really, even the last time, I think it went. We had some very interesting discussions around these topics, these case studies. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have this session because yeah, it's important to have the specialized ones, right? Because everyone's situations are unique, right? Like, so I totally get DSM because they have very unique situations and they have patients and, all those kinds of things. But it's also important, I think, to have a space where it's multidisciplinary faculty and instructors and students and staff can get together and talk, because you won't necessarily have that opportunity to reach out to someone from sociology or to reach out to someone from science or something. So I think I was just kind of looking at the attendance list, and there are so many people from different faculties represented here and units. It's really great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the things that I really like about our workshops as well, right? At the TI. We attract folks from all over.
Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly.
This is good. Okay, Fabiola left.
Yeah, she had a class.
Lita.
I'll send the another question I'll send the attendance sheet out back up to the TI programs. But I did have a same question asked twice. If we'll be sharing the slides, but both people asked if we would share the Jamboards within the slides.
They already have the link, right, to the Jamboard, so. so I guess we've already shared them. So, right? I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think people, once they get off, maybe they just close their window or whatever, they forget about it. So
okay.
Yeah. Would you like me to put the links in the follow-up email?
Sure. I mean, if you want to, but yeah, I guess we could, right?
Yeah. I know it's like, yeah, you could just go under Google and access it, but that's okay, right? That's okay. Again, you can't make assumptions, right?
Right.
What people know and don't know. And
yeah. Actually, I had a session. Sorry, what's that?
No, go ahead.
No, I had a session with CSM, and I think it was Kenna or Daniel, I can't remember. They had sent out like a whole guide on how to use Jamboards, because I did use Jamboard before and I found that folks weren't really, it was new to them. So, and yeah, it was my fault. Like, I just completely assumed that people were like all into Jamboard. So, but I really appreciated that Kenna did that. So I asked her if I could use that for my EDI badge. Like, I'll post it in the D2L shell because I found it so useful to have that guide, right, for folks. So
yeah, that's a really good point, and probably something I should have started with in this session. I forgot to do that because you just think people know how, but yeah, they don't. If it's not part of their pedagogy or their practice, they're not going to think about it, right? And then no one's going to ask, oh, I don't know how to use Jamboard, right? So I think that might have been part of the confusion in the beginning, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. No worries.
I know, even like my spouse, he's always making fun of me because he'll text me, he'll be like, I'm using Miro today. It's like, okay, whatever.
I love Miro.
I know, but I don't know what's wrong with you people in CSM. I'm like, hello, what do you teach with? Because he's like, UTI. Because I'm like, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? He's like, no, we don't do any of that. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
I know, Miro is awesome. So, and then he was on. So this is what he did yesterday. He texted me. He's like, I'm a rhino. I'm like, what is he talking about? And what is it? Apple auto corrected Miro to mural. And he's like, I'm a rhino on the mural. And I'm like, what mural? And he's like, in CSM. I'm like, someone painted you as a rhino? Like, stupid autocorrect
mural.
He's like, I'm like, oh, Miro.
That's hilarious.
I know. So much fun with these people, but but it's kind of a unique faculty because the patients, the medical students, right? Each other when they're doing their professional development. So well, anyways, that's all I hear all day long is how unique it is. I'm like, you mean how massive and how unlimited?
Unlimited. Right. Oh man.
He's like, what do you mean you have to create your own links and you have to do this and you have to do that? He's like, we just get up there and it's just all magically ready for them, right?
Wow. See, yeah. CSM. Nice.
No, we just love them. Special. All right, we've got 1 minute left. I'm just gonna do the message. Oh, good timing too. So close the rooms in a minute. And I love that people are really taking the time, right? They're not like jumping back early. So this is good. I didn't even check the Jamboard, but I'll do that now. For this one, Fauzi, I think every group has had an opportunity to share. Did you want to just open it up to who wants to share with this one?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So welcome back, folks. So yeah, as Lorelei mentioned, let's open it up if anyone would like to jump in. So this case study was really about, it was about writing assignments. You are grading student writing assignments and find one that makes arguments against one of your held beliefs. So if anyone would like to volunteer and share on behalf of their group.
I was asked to represent the group. I'm happy to volunteer. So long as my group members jump in if I missed something. I would say that in this one, we found ourselves really gravitating. So I'm not surprised to see the Jamboard more populated with question 3, because we found that the focus of our energies should really be on responding. This isn't necessarily a situation we want to prevent. In fact, we felt that it wasn't a situation we want to prevent. We want to have the ability to create an open space, both in class discussions, and in written assignments where people can feel free to express differences of opinion, of beliefs, of positions. So it wasn't a question of like, we thought number 2 didn't really apply so much to this so much as responding. So creating that open space for these differences of opinions and beliefs to be put forward. And then also, how do you respond? Because once you open things up, you'll also get discussion of some of those dominant stereotypes that necessarily kind of foreground themselves as people express their beliefs. And one thing that was pointed out by one of our members was that, in fact, the more strongly held a belief is, the more likely the person is going to be wanting to persuade others. And so the focus of our discussion was, how do you sort of link that idea of responding with a sense of responsibility to everyone who's in the room, and sort of giving a space to open up the conversation. So in a written assignment, one of our members suggested, you can ask questions to engage the student in some self-reflection, but there's also the onus on the instructor to say, hey, wait a minute, why am I reacting this way? And examine our own beliefs. So that sort of opening up and unpacking of what may appear in some cases a conflict, but in fact could be a very healthy exchange of different ideas.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. And sorry, is it Stefania?
Yes, that's right. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Stefania, thank you so much for sharing on behalf of your group. And those were excellent points. Again, you're talking about teachable moments, and you're talking about critical self-reflection as well. And that's one key point when looking at, for example, when we talk about incorporating EDI principles within our teaching and learning environment. As instructors, one of the key aspects of that is to engage in critical self-reflection. So there might be instances like this that would really call for us to reflect on, as you said, why would this kind of bring about a certain level of emotions, or why would I react a certain way to how my students are either responding, or how my students would address a certain argument and so forth. So I totally agree with you that it's important for us to be open to those moments of those teachable moments, not just to be at the not just to use it from our end, but also to be open to that when it's applied to us as well. So thank you so much for sharing, Stefania. Anyone else?
This is Jacqueline. I'm finding this a fascinating workshop. I really, really appreciate it. Natasha brought up the idea of calling in versus calling out. And I really love the discussion we had around that, because when you're calling out someone, more confrontational, there's a sense of shaming that occurs, and almost a defensive reaction can occur from the person, and almost a shutdown then of any type of opportunity, like you said, for that teaching moment, rather with calling in. And I said, she identified it's like you want to understand what the person was trying to say. And I thought maybe an approach would be, I'd really like to understand what you're saying here, because personally I found it, this is just an example, to me that could have been taken as offensive, but I don't see you as an offensive person. So could we just talk about this a little bit more? Could you explain it? So I think you're right, as instructors, our approach is very important, and it could either facilitate critical self-reflection, or it can be the opposite.
Absolutely, Jacqueline. And then thank you so much for sharing that whole notion around calling in versus calling out. And you've explained that so beautifully here to the entire group. And I just wanted to add to that with calling in, it really fosters a sense of safety as opposed to calling out. As you mentioned, that is where a person would just kind of lead to being defensive, and there is no room for growth or learning with that approach, really. But then again, it's really specific to this case study, this specific situation that we're addressing. But I completely agree with you. I think that approach with calling in, given the situation, given the case here, is definitely an approach that would elicit learning and foster growth and even safety for the other person. Thank you so much for sharing. Wondering if we could, I think, we're at the mark here. It's 11:47. So I think we're done with our case studies here. What's next, Lorelei?
We just wanted to provide our participants with an opportunity on where they can get more resources. So on the
Great.
UCalgary campus, we have, of course, many resources from the Taylor Institute, but we also have the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And our Student Wellness Services provides incredible resources regarding how to support our students. We've got 2 more comments in the chat if you wanted to address them. That was one from Jessica and one from Nicole.
Sure. Just give me a second to read them. Yeah, Jessica, I see that in terms of, where we are in our journey, that is absolutely important to consider. I agree with you there. Thank you. And Nicole also talked about when we need to call in discipline depending on the severity of the microaggressions. That's absolutely right, Nicole. Even though, we talked about earlier that microaggressions, they may be small and subtle, but it can be quite harmful and it can have deterring effects, especially if it's done in a repetitive manner and it's occurring constantly. So those need to be addressed absolutely, depending on the severity. And again, folks, what we've discussed here really is specific to these cases and specific to these situations. But again, Lorelei and I would like to thank you for engaging in these difficult conversations. As we mentioned earlier with microaggressions, really, it's so broad and it can happen in so many different spaces and it can surface in so many different ways, right? But we really appreciate you engaging in these difficult conversations here. And we encourage you to remain open to these conversations and to critical self-reflection.